little while, so there's everyone else. So, I mean, obviously, what you're doing is an amazing thing. But I mean, how did you get the role, or how did you apply, or how did you come across it? Because I know a lot of people here would be hugely interested.
So I studied for my undergrad. I did do business, and so when I was looking at potential jobs and things like that, I was interested in the arts. Um, but again, I was from Florida. We don't really have much engagement with the art world that's kind of living and breathing. It's more of kind of museums and kind of historic collections. So I found out through studying abroad that the Sotheby's, the auction house, actually has master's programs both in New York and London. I also think maybe in Hong Kong now. But I just thought I should give it a go. It seemed like a really great opportunity to immerse myself in this world. And so I chose to study art business. They have a handful of smaller courses related to contemporary art or luxury, things like that. But I was interested in learning about the different types of businesses or kind of studios, makers that were working and kind of looking for people to support them. And so I found out about the studio just purely from career postings that first I thought, okay, aligns with my interests, which was kind of communications, more of an office side rather than kind of the making side, but also kind of where I wanted to be and what I want to do. So just seeing Joseph, that he's not gallery represented anymore, but he's working directly with clients in dialogue. He is very focused on the process as much as the final piece, and it's very much about this place and kind of developing the place, the team, and building something truly special. So I came from my interview and was just blown away. I felt like I couldn't believe what I'd found, and it was such a unique opportunity. So for me, I didn't know if it would work out or not, but I had to give it a go. So 3 years I've been here, and I'm of course from the US. The team is quite international though, so some of us are from Ireland, but others are from Japan, France, Germany, in the past, Italy, Denmark, all sorts of places. So it's a really nice kind of balance between, again, the local, the global, and these different conversations and different views that come out of that.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's very eclectic, but I mean, it's very diverse. I mean, obviously in terms of what you're doing, but that's incredible. It's a good thing to know because people are often interested in finding, well, how does somebody even find this place or get started as well? But look, you
Yeah,
speak very well. Well, clearly you're enjoying it, which is fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
So what's it like in terms of your roles? So what would be a typical day for you in the studio?
So for me, I mean, we're a very small team. Joseph himself has kind of three different areas. He's set up three different areas in his studio. So there's the design studio, the workshop, and the gallery. Now, maybe other studios don't really have that. He might just be focused on the making or something else. But for us, it's three areas. So there's 20 of us. And for me, it really just depends on the time of year. So summers, for example, very, very busy with studio visits, group visits, both from students or architectural firms, people traveling from abroad. And then, of course, September, we have the Making In program. So I'm just helping with the events kind of coordination, communications there. But then, of course, when it's exhibitions and things like that, it's the communications around that, the actual material that you want, the photography, the publications, the text, but then actually being there. So having someone from the team, and Joseph himself usually at the exhibitions talking about the work, but also the place. And of course, more than anything, we would love for people to actually come and visit, because that's the best way to get a sense of the sincerity and the importance of the dialogue with the client for the commissions, the dialogue with the team and the innovations, and kind of developing again the pieces, because each time we're kind of starting from scratch really. So yeah, kind of going off on a tangent. It's less to do with my work, but it's sort of along those lines that each time we're doing something, we're kind of evolving. So every exhibition, we're learning from the past, and so just even in the office side, it's never like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. We're making connections with people. We're thinking about people, whether they're just down the road or across the world, and thinking, how can we bring them here? How can we bring them to this exhibition? How can we bring them to this event, and let them know about the work, but also others that we're working with, collaborations, and just upcoming projects. So
That's fantastic. Don't worry about tangents. Tangents are a fantastic thing. But again, it's very diverse. I mean, there's a huge amount of variety there, which is amazing. And speaking of the event itself, which is making in obviously with 2025, what is it that inspired the creation of this event? How did this come about?
yeah, so it's good we talked about the studio, because it really is kind of a part of Joseph and a part of how he's developed as a maker. So with Joseph, as I was saying, it's commissions, it's about the process, and kind of earlier on, really in his career from 2003 and so on, he was doing these different exhibitions, really initiating these kind of conversations and collaborations with different makers through exhibitions. So Create is one that's some from quite a long time ago might remember, but it was these sorts of exhibitions with different Irish makers like Sarah Flynn and so on, putting them together and kind of seeing what dialogue will come about. So in the most recent years, Joseph, as he became kind of more internationally acclaimed and connected, he thought, wouldn't it be amazing if we could bring back some of this knowledge to Ireland, or kind of create this conversation back in Ireland, because craft and heritage is very inherent in being from the US. So I think it's remarkable that, to my opinion, it's thriving, but I know some people here may think it's dying. And so for Joseph, it was really about focusing on these four areas of craft, art, architecture, and design, putting these people in the room together, kind of that would otherwise never meet, never kind of cross paths, and seeing what kind of conversations and ideas would come out of it. So that was the very first kind of idea. So in 2017 is when Making In started. It was a very, very small program, mostly kind of friends and designers and people, contacts of the studio. I want to say there was about 80 people, and since then it's grown to about 400. So it's a 2-day program now, and we're welcoming people from all over the world, from Europe, Asia, America. So it's wonderful to see how far it's gone, and that it's actually retained and maintained itself, because for Joseph it was just a passion project really, and now it's become something really significant for us, but also we think for the local community and the larger community. So
No, it's a huge thing. It's funny when you say there about certain kind of crafts and kind of ideas being lost. We've kind of always kind of felt that. And I think in the last probably 10 or 15 years, we kind of feel that certain kind of crafts are starting to edge out and lose their way, particularly in areas of kind of interior design and decoration, particularly, like crafts themselves. But in terms of the makers, now you mentioned obviously you have artists and designers and architects, etc. But what other kind of disciplines are involved or represented this year? I mean, again, I imagine it's very, very diverse, but what other sort of crafts or disciplines are involved?
yeah, so kind of in the last 2 to 3 years, it's really become this broader sense of making, and this idea that you can make in different ways. So this year we will have someone who is talking about food, and in the years past we've had Rory O'Connell from Ballymoo Cookery School. So what is it to be making and producing in the industry of food, fashion, performance, music? So not only just performing music, but actually making the instruments and so on. So it's really kind of evolved into something more abstract. And I think that's maybe what some people are kind of trying to understand is what, I don't want to say what can I get out of it or what should I expect, but it is kind of coming from a genuine place where it's more about not trying to solve any kind of problem or answer any question or have a real commercial outcome. It's more about putting these people together to have these conversations. So something I really like to think about is the architect Sugaruban came last year, and he was talking about working for very high profile clients, but also natural disaster relief victims. So and he was paired next to the architects O'Donnell and Toomey, the Irish architects, and at dinner they just had a conversation about this performance we were having at one of the pavilions here, and just in that conversation decided to drop a plan for these torches, these lights, using basic materials. So I think it was broomsticks, like the actual sticks, and a bit of just tying them together and some other kind of material, and they made these torches over dinner. So that's the thing that's so beautiful about it, is it's again, there's no kind of grand takeaway, but it's these moments that happen that you just can't really imitate anywhere else. They're really beautiful.
No, the collaboration side of it, the spirit of it, just sounds absolutely
Mhm.
fantastic.
Mhm.
And all right, being slightly biased, obviously being Irish, but it seems like a really good setting. Obviously in terms of where it is, in terms of a place as well. But the fact that it's so international and so diverse is absolutely incredible. It must be obviously hugely popular. I mean, so how do you narrow down, or how do people apply, or how do you actually choose the people that actually take part in the event?
Yeah, so it's kind of come about, really it was starting with people that Joseph was interested in having, but we're on his wish list, but not just for his own sake, but that he thought kind of should be brought to the conversation. Over the years it's been through recommendations, also just again naturally. So one of the speakers I like to think about is Suji-san. Suji actually did the dry stone walling around the Stone Vessel Pavilion. So that's one of the structures we have here at the studio. And we only found him because he was referred to us by another Japanese maker that had come the year before to work on a different pavilion. And he just said he knew of him and he knew he was a good stonemason. It ended up that in addition to being a dry stone waller, Suji is looking after the oldest pine tree in Japan, and it's kind of taken on this spiritual symbol for Japan. And so he looks after the temple there. He also drifts cars and has his own rice farm. He looks after tea plantations. So there's all of this amazing stuff that we came to learn about Suji just from having him here and making contact. So he ended up actually speaking at Making In about the Karasaki pine tree because it was just through that natural kind of connection. We thought this is a story that people have to hear, it's maybe just a tree to some people and it's just kind of looking after something. He's not making something, but it's making a change, and it's building community around this symbol. But otherwise, we've also had a number of, I think overall, how speakers are chosen, it's really Joseph and co-founder Francis and Glenn, the moderator, talking to each other and thinking about, okay, not necessarily who is a big name, who is like the best in this industry, who is the most recognizable, but more so who is someone that we think would be very interesting and would have something to talk about with their process, their skill, their passion for making, not just about, the final outcome. But on top of that, thinking about others who may be quieter or tucked into these smaller parts of the world. How can we kind of emphasize their story, or how interesting would it be to pair this person with this person? So, for example, Pagani, who is making these hypercars, paired with Greg Rowland, who is a wheelwright in the UK, making these very traditional wheels. He hasn't reinvented the wheel or anything, as he said himself, but just putting these people together. And so, yeah, it's really about kind of almost curating this sort of conversation, these panel discussions, these interviews, Another point is, I think when it comes to traditional craft like basket making, weaving, those sorts, of course, we could probably look at someone who is contemporary, who is very trendy, who's making a huge success. But we always try to focus on someone who is in Ireland, and bringing their story kind of to light. So we will always have someone from Ireland, or two or three, at the seminar represented, because for Joseph, that is important, that it's not just about the best of the best in this commercial sense, but these people who are passionate about what they're doing, and kind of want to just share that with others. So.
No, it sounds like it'd be like a very, and even the way you speak about it very passionately, and again, huge knowledge in terms of the different areas and the different interests, and it's really is a fusion of sorts. It's really hard to picture how all this is going to take place in terms of the program of events during the day. So that must be quite a challenge, I imagine.
Yes, I think I should have mentioned this, of course, to begin with. It's taking place in the workshop. So it is a large workshop, but it is a place of making. And so we're kind of facilitating all of this around that, kind of as at the core. So it's our small team, but we've gotten into the rhythm of it over the years. And so, of course, there is the actual talks in the, but there's exhibition of works. So a number of the participants will have their pieces on display. It is Joseph's workshop, so he's not completely putting away all the pieces that are in process. They're also there. We're having locally sourced food provided for lunches and things like that. So it's really a production, but again, none of it's forced. We're not concerned, about technical difficulties or things running over. We're happy for those little happy accidents, like Martin Hayes coming out with his fiddle and deciding he wants to play something, delighted by that. So, absolutely, yeah.
No, again, it's going to sound very fluid. I'm just trying to picture in mind in terms of how the program events comes in together. But it sounds like it's going to be very organic, and no 2 days are obviously going to be alike in
Mm.
terms of as well, which is fantastic. And just can you talk to me a bit more just about the workshop and the setting itself? Because obviously it's a fantastic environment, and obviously being up close beside. I mean, obviously you can see the tools on display, you can see everything there. I mean, in terms of say like the main space where this is going on, I mean, is there much opportunity where obviously people can go in and just literally talk to the creators and maybe look at the tools and feel that the tactile of the materials and obviously sample the food, which is a huge thing,
Mhm.
obviously in Ireland as well. But in terms of the atmosphere, it sounds like to be incredible. To be honest with you, it's one of these things that it sounds very very unique, and you're crossing many kind of disciplines. But what's the overall feel you think that people are going to take away from it? I mean, obviously, first of all, it's very unique, but for somebody seeing it for the first time, how do you think it might kind of influence their perception, or how would they feel about it?
Yeah, I think it can be overwhelming. It's a 2 day seminar, but it's kind of talks, performance, everything is happening, and you go home at the end of the day thinking, what should I just experience? Even for the speakers, we're collaborating with director Pat Collins to create these films, coinciding with the seminars, and the interviewers themselves. They prefer to have the talks right after, or their interviews right after their talks, because they feel like they're kind of coming off of this this sort of high, but also some of them prefer to reflect, because it's a lot to take in. But of course, it's inspiring. It is a seminar, so there's a sense of the audience and the speakers, but throughout the weekend, the speakers are there. We're not putting them off in a special corner, and having them go off somewhere else. They're there, and they're delighted to meet people. So there is this sense of, listening and taking in what the speakers are saying to the audience, but then also within the audience, this sense of connection and conversation. So we're having people that are from, architecture firms, design studios, but also neighbors, farmers, and then we have students, kind of friends, things like that. And also dotted in, of course, our whole team is there. So it is really an opportunity, of course, to make connections. Not, and again, I don't want to say networking, but it's just very interesting to have this opportunity to be able to talk to people that otherwise you might not be able to meet. And so yeah, it's for people coming. I would say we're wanting to inspire them. I would encourage people to make the most of it. Don't be shy. Fully take it in. But also, I think the greater takeaway, maybe as a whole, from the program, but also the studio as a place, the collaborations we've done with the pavilions. It's kind of asking this question of, okay, what do we do next? So the pavilions are this structure that were made by O'Donnell and Toomey, but it's focusing on local craft and materials and dyeing kind of skills. So they're made in stone, timber, and thatch. We worked with stonemasons, thatchers, and carpenters to create these structures, and really that's kind of like the physical embodiment of making in, because what we're wanting to do is say, of course these are experimental, they're architectural, they don't really have a function, but they are asking the question of what can we do, taking traditional skills, traditional crafts, and putting them into the contemporary context. And so it's not meant to make anyone feel like they're not doing enough, or we need to be changing everything, but it's really just kind of planting that seed of what is possible, and just allow them to see that there are people out there that are passionate and wanting to kind of carry on tradition while innovating at the same time. I love to think of this quote by Iris van Herpen, who is a fashion designer, last year, which she said that technology at one point in time was always an innovation. So the needle for clothing was always, that would have been an innovation at its time. For sewing, power tools, for machinery, that would have been an innovation. And so things that we might think of now as pressure from our ancestors and from the past, it's really just kind of, it's there for us to interrogate and not to completely erase, but to kind of question and hopefully make something of. So
No, that sounds wonderful, because again, it's the mixture of the old and new, but again, it's building fundamentals, which is a huge thing. And even the analogy you made there, just even of like something like knit needle, which we would often take for granted. I don't have any experience of that clearly, but it's we'd be lost without it. It's something we kind of take for granted, like an everyday kind of item. So it's great to hear things like the thatchers and the carpenters and all these kind of skills still being put to bear, which is wonderful. And obviously, the studio is obviously known internationally for kind of pushing boundaries and looking at different materials. So, how do you feel making in fits for that? And does it reflect that spirit?
yeah, so it's kind of going back to that point of tradition and pushing boundaries. So someone like Iris van Herpen, her works are tailored beautifully and everything like that, but she's looking at 3D printing and innovations there. Joseph's, the studio itself, that's kind of the foundation that's led into making in, is that he has this emphasis on material and using natural material, wood. It's living, it's breathing, but pushing the boundaries of it. So pushing it to the next level. And seeing what can be achieved. So this year we have makers like Osamu Yokoyama, who is working with bamboo, but in my mind I've never seen bamboo kind of made into these sculptural figures as before. So it's really interesting. And then we have Martin Rausch, who is rammed earth expert. So it's taking something which, there have been structures in rammed earth, but it's now a very modern process and mechanism. So those sorts of things of really kind of saying, okay, what is possible, and again, they're artists, they're makers, so they may have more of an abstract view of it. It's not creating the solution, but it's asking those questions. So yeah.
That's you are going to be very, very busy, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Do you ever get involved? Have you ever attempted to get involved in any aspect? If you're seeing obviously people in the workshop, and have you had a go at any of these processes yourselves, or is anything? What's your main kind of interest that you see that you like? If you could
Yeah.
do.
I think, being here, I've realized I'm actually quite practical. I used to think I was very creative, but no, it is great to just be here. From my perspective, I haven't been, as hands-on, but what I do love, because I am quite practical, is this sense of knowledge sharing, as we call it. So, whenever we have suppliers coming through or different people that we're working with in the team, it's always really nice to have them come and talk about their work, or even within the team, talking about their perspective. For example, the Japanese, um, they have a different method of making. And so in these conversations at our alignment meetings, it's just always interesting to say, Joseph's like, well, of course you would do it this way or this way. And the Japanese are so confused by that. And then you realize it's just like the world isn't always what it seems. And so for me, it's more being the observer. I just really enjoy being in this environment, seeing things kind of develop and evolve. Every year for the last 3 years, we've had a new pavilion. So there's the final three this year. But then also with the studio spaces, it's really grown with the projects, the scale of the projects, from monumental sculptural works to more of the furniture. And as I said, because everything is unique, it's always kind of starting from scratch. So you go down to the workshop and there's this chair you've never seen before, and they're interrogating the design. And it's just purely fascinating for me. I would love to get involved, but I just think I would kind of become very stressed, and it's very nice for me to observe. Yeah,
No, well, look, clearly you obviously love what you do. Like that really comes across. So you speak really passionately, enthusiastically as well. And again, no 2 days are alike. No two making ins
yeah.
are alike. Wonderful thing. And in terms of the kind of like the takeaway, what do you hope that people get out of it? Like, what would you hope would be their main thing that they would take away from it?
Yeah, so I would say it's again like it's more of a genuine kind of interaction, and we're wanting people to come away with it feeling like they're asking new questions, and they're maybe wanting not to drastically change their life, but maybe kind of interrogate certain things that we take as for granted or we don't question. But I think it's also just about kind of spreading the word. So originally, when Making was created, Joseph wanted to consider it kind of a movement, and this idea that it wasn't just one moment in time, but it was this kind of um, this way of life or way of thinking. And so we don't call it a movement right now. It's more just a moment. It's the seminar is a moment, but we have developed a cultural program out of it. So in addition to the seminar now, we have these films that we're making with Pat Collins. We have premieres internationally. We've had exhibitions in the last year between Ireland and Japan, in collaboration with the government of Ireland. So it's kind of grown really from just this one weekend into something more. And it is ticketed event, of course, but we want to have these opportunities for other people to feel like they can engage and they can reach out. And so we have the film, which will actually be on RTE1 on the 1st of September, which is broadcast. And so that's great. It's trying to reach people who may not even know about the studio or ever even hear about this program. They could just be flicking through the channels on the television and stumble upon something. And so it's really just being able to say, we did the best we could in trying to kind of get this out there, and just knowing that there could be someone across the world or around the corner who is now inspired and willing to kind of maybe take the step that they didn't want to take with what they're doing in their own craft, or just I think just following someone that they're passionate about, engaging with them. So yeah, it's really nothing too specific, but I guess it's more of having those opportunities available in different ways for people to kind of engage.
No, it sounds real. I'll be honest with you, it sounds really inspiring. The fact you've got the different media as well from it, which is just fantastic. It sounds awesome. I'll be quite honest about it, and it's a funny thing as well because where you're based, you're down in kind of Riverstick direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is when I came to Cork first for college, I heard of the studio, but I didn't realize it's quite tucked away. It's quite unassuming,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
all this work is obviously happening there. And just roughly, how many months of preparation? Like, when was the starting point? Obviously, the event is in September. We'll be talking about the details at the moment, but how many months roughly? How much time actually was involved? Do you think?
Oh man. So we Well, every year it's grown and involved. So when I started in 2022, we were just coming out of COVID. So we were just happy to even have an event in person. That was quite tight. It was just the summer months. But then last year we had the first weekend that was 2 days of seminar and then a performance on Sunday. So we really kind of decided this is becoming something serious. We want it to be good, and we want people to know about it in advance. So we kind of really started immediately after, from a practical point of view, thinking about accommodation, things like that, the boring bits. But by the new year, we would have the theme or kind of a general idea of who we wanted to speak. And so Joseph and Francis, my colleague, would then kind of start those initial invitations for speaking. And so, yeah, it's really from January that we kind of start having those conversations, and start going from very large to the very fine details. So luckily it's become a rhythm. It's not something we dread so much, but you have to learn. There's the growing pains. So the first year it was like, a lot of just kind of setting the foundation, the structure to it. And now it's more of just kind of following the plans. And we're at that moment, I guess it's 2 or 3 weeks away. So we're getting to the very, very fine details. But it's very exciting. And then of course, when the event actually comes, it's almost like we've done all the work. So of course we're working, but we also kind of get to enjoy just seeing familiar faces, welcoming people. And for me, I'm the one of kind of that's facilitating studio visits and things like that. And while it may be the same structure of program every year, it's always a joy to see people's reactions, whether it's their first time here or their 10th time, because it is always changing, like every summer. And so that's another point, is I just always try to encourage people to feel like they can come back. We don't want this to be, again, a moment in time, but that they feel like they can come here and feel like that there is this sense of place tied to the making of each piece and the studio's work.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. Wish you all the best. I'll definitely take you up on your offer going down.
Yeah,
It's long overdue. It's one of these kind of things. It's just you have to do it. It's incredible,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, it's taking place over 2 days. So it's the fifth and so it's the 5th and 6th September.
Yes. So there's a seminar. It's a half-day seminar on Friday. So it'll be starting from 1 o'clock and then going on to about 5:30. And then the Saturday is the very full-on day, from about 8:45, 9 in the morning until end of day, 6 o'clock, 6:30. So there's lunches, there's three breaks, there's the conversations, there's performance, there's kind of everything in one day. And then on the Sunday we have a performance in one of the pavilions. Hopefully, if the weather is all good, it has been each year, thankfully. But that is completely free. So everyone who's bought a ticket or who is attending, of course, they go to that. But we also try to encourage the local community, the schools, students, to come and join. So because it's outdoors, we're just happy if we have as many people as possible. Yeah.
No, that's gonna be. It sounds like an awesome. I mean, I don't want to use the word festival. That's the wrong word, but it does
Okay.
have that
It's that.
beautiful feeling to it. Yeah, which is actually.
Mhm.
So Can people find out more? Obviously, you're on Instagram, Making In, but where else can people find out more information?
Yeah, so we're making in Joseph Walsh Studio, of course, is the main account for Joseph, who's founded this, but we have the website makingin.org. So that's a really nice way to kind of understand the past events. We have kind of images and videos from all the past events till this year. You would have links to the film, the first film by Pat Collins. You would have all the ticketing information for this year, and you would have all the profiles for makers that have spoken. So I think to date we've had almost 70 people come and participate in Making In. So there's kind of this archive on the website, very beautiful. You can see their work. But that's where you would be able to find information. Also, if you want to look for tickets, they're also on Eventbrite. But again, you can go through the website, so it's very easy to find. And let's see what else. Oh, you can call us. I mean, I know some people prefer just to pick up the phone, so we're at the studio, even though it is Making In. It's all the same kind of team, so I'm happy to pick up the phone and chat. But yeah, social media, Making In, website makingin.org. So
That's fantastic. As if you didn't have enough to be doing, but now you're actually asked to phone you in, phone in with inquiries. Wonderful. So it's Making hyphen in on Instagram. Your tickets are available on Eventbrite, and it's also through Joseph Wall Studio and makingin.org.
yes,
So I can't wait. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. Madeline Cherry, thank you so much, Design Studio Manager in Joseph Wall Studios. What a fantastic job. Thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
pleasure.
We're going to have hundreds of comments and lots of positivity on here as well. So thank you for everyone tuning in and joining us. Madeline, we'll be talking to you soon. Best luck with the event. And thanks again for taking out your time today.
Of course, thank you. And thank you for your support. We really
More than-
appreciate
Thanks a million, Madeline. Take care. Thanks a million, guys. Thanks for
it.
tuning in. Chat to you soon.